welcome to Canny Conversations. We're at Series 5 and we're having conversations about career and talent. Today I've got one of my role models, an individual that fair amount of innovation, and that's a clue there. It is our very own Charlotte. I feel like we're good friends because we see each other on a very regular basis, and sometimes I've seen you in a sari, sometimes I've seen you in different gears, but today you're here face to face, and thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate you coming here. Charlotte, how's it going?
So it depends which day of the week you ask. Today's a Friday, so it feels it's going okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's been a really, really interesting journey, as I'm sure you've seen. There's been ups and downs.
Yeah.
We're going into a situation where we're going to have potentially change of government, which is causing us to kind of rethink, have to think about our business as we move forward. But to now be the third largest endpoint assessment organisation and have the amount of growth we've had, to get to work with so many amazing employers and providers on a day-to-day basis, we're in a good place.
So it's going quite well. It's going quite well. Yeah. So some of the stuff that I've looked at. I mean, I've looked at the accounts. I've looked at your reports on your website. But by the way, it's a fantastic website. A lot of great branding around that site as well. A lot of useful information. What would you say is if there's a couple of things in terms of the secret, in terms of some of the success that you've had, particularly in a market which is very, very competitive? It's a market that there's a lot of moving parts as well, and quite difficult to make things work from a financial perspective, let alone from servicing the customer, as well as all the macro governmental sort of changes out there. So share some secrets.
Okay, but like any good chef, I will keep a little bit back so people don't know all of my ingredients.
Yeah.
But the main things I would say is absolutely knowing your customer base and who you're trying to serve. And very early on when I started at Innovate, I was talking to a training provider. And as you'll be aware, we're part of a wider group, Lifetime Training Group. And this particular provider said to me, Charlotte, we really like your personality. We like you. We like what you stand for, but we'll never work and operate with you because you are part of a wider group who is one of our competitors. And that made me rethink about who my customer was. So from that moment on, instead of trying to just appease a provider, it's the employer and the apprentice that we focused, who we targeted, and recognised that sometimes changed our conversation. So we very early on realised that the quality of the provision was the focus for the employer, and they were less financially
swayed.
Whereas because of the funding bands, which are really challenging in some areas, sometimes the provider wants to retain as much as they can to ensure good quality teaching and learning, where employers weren't as price sensitive. We recognise the type of information, that apprentice feedback, the type of data and reporting to see how the provision was working, so they could then sell that and convince their own exec teams how well apprenticeships were being delivered within their businesses, made a big difference to our proposition. So it's been very much actually really recognising that the employer is the purchaser to actually retain, recruit and upskill their own workforce. And that's allowed us to really position. I think that's one of the main areas, and our no surprises approach. Nobody should go into any exam without knowing what is going to be put in front of them. So that preparation materials, webinars, having people on hand to be able to talk them through. And we also provide a bio of all our examiners to every apprentice before they go in the process. So they're really, really clear that person is qualified, can actually make sure that they're supported, and then we really focus on that preparation side as well.
Canny Conversation Podcast Series 5 by Safaraz Ali.